too. And I guess a lot of folks, and I want to get to the point where we talk about where you like to live as far as working now that you're not in corporate America, the level that you are. But a lot of times for our listeners, if you're working with like director level, VP level, kind of that mid to upper mid management, you were talking about hiring people that were better than you and smarter than you, and that can be really intimidating when you're trying to get to those senior levels, is having somebody below you that's, for lack of a better term, kind of outshining you. So tell us a little bit about that, since I know that's big in your realm.
So if you're the smart leader and you bring in the smart person, that just shows your capabilities too, right? Great leaders can manage people that are smarter than them. In fact, I talk a lot about advocating passionately. When you're advocating for somebody who's really good, that shows your ability to understand talent, to develop talent, to manage talent. And so we may look at a DISC or an OAD or a tool that we use to bring people into organizations and say, oh, they're different than me. And then you get into the interview process and they're smarter than me. But if you understand who they are and what they can bring to the table, it's only going to move your team forward.
Well, I would definitely agree with that, because I'd love to get your comments on that. I've seen it from afar, and unfortunately, I've been kind of victim to it as well. Is when you get into an organization and you see somebody that's really good at managing up, but when it comes to the people that are below them in a management position, same thing. If they see somebody, oh, that person might do better, that person might outshine me, that person might be getting more attention than I'm getting, right? Since they're at that level that you're at, and they're, hey, I want to keep going up, I can't have this person, pass me. Comment to kind of how that struggle is, not just for the employee that's the one kind of outshining, but also where leaders may struggle as far as, how do I better manage this on myself to have somebody who's getting more attention or outshining, or that type of person that you were discussing?
First, you have to understand where the fear is coming from. So why are you afraid to bring in someone that can contribute differently to the department or the organization? And really getting in touch with that uncomfortable situation and understanding why you are afraid and what it is inside of you is going to help you come to terms with the situation. Because you're not afraid to hire someone smart because they're smart. You're afraid to hire someone smart because you think that they're going to do something to your career. And in all reality, you don't, that may not even happen, and that may happen, but you have to believe that there's enough for everyone. And if you are doing a good job managing down and advocating for them, it is your job as a leader to find a space for them. So ideally, the space you find for them is your position, and you move up and give them your opportunity.
Yes, yeah, I've seen that in several places where there's nothing wrong with, as you move up, bringing that person along with you. But if you're some people just, that's not their jam, right? They're like, they feel threatened. And I
Right.
guess I'm assuming you've had this kind of experience talking back and forth and coaching with people. Flip the script and say, if you're the person that comes into an organization, you're really like hit your stride, thriving and whatever, doing great, and then the person above you or a couple levels above you are just feeling threatened like that for whatever reason, wherever the fear is coming from. Now that they have hired you and realize, oh wow, this person's getting a lot more attention than I am, or really, for whatever. Talk to the employee that feels like, oh wow, now I'm stuck because I've got someone above me or two levels above me that's not happy that I'm doing as well as them, and they're feeling threatened.
You have to read the tea leaves a little bit. So you have to understand what's going on within the organization, what's going on within the culture, but you also have to have conversations. You have to talk about what you want moving forward. You have to talk about what you need to be doing to be moving forward. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen situations where people have said, I don't think they like me, or I don't think they think that I'm doing a good job. And I'll say, well, what was the conversation like when you talked to them about that? And then they say, well, I don't want to ask. And I'm like, well, why don't you want to ask? And they say, because they might have feedback I don't like. Oh, okay, well, they also might have the answers or the key to the kingdom, right? So if they give you the key to the kingdom, like you're doing too much of this, or you're not doing enough of that, or you know what, it's just really hard for me to manage somebody like you. Well, what can I do better? Right? We have to ask the questions if we're in a situation that's uncomfortable, and we don't because we're already uncomfortable, and then our fear starts kicking in. So much stems from fear, and understanding what you're afraid of, what happens if you don't get the answer you want, helps make the invisible visible. So if you don't get the answer you want, then at least you can make decisions. But if you sit in the corner worried about what might happen, nothing might ever happen. You might just sit in the corner for the next 5 years.